I'm reporting to you live from Managua, where tensions are high amidst political turmoil. Nicaragua, a country with a complex political history, finds itself at a crossroads once again. Today, we'll examine the events leading up to what many are calling a government coup, tracing the path from U.S. interventions to the current state of affairs under President Daniel Ortega's rule. The story of Nicaragua's current political crisis has roots stretching back to the early 20th century. In 1909, 1911, and 1912, the United States intervened in Nicaragua's affairs, setting a precedent that would shape the nation's trajectory for decades to come. These interventions, initiated under President Taft and Secretary of State Knox, were ostensibly aimed at protecting U.S. interests in the region. The impact of these interventions on Nicaraguan politics cannot be overstated. They created a power vacuum that would eventually be filled by the Somoza family dictatorship. This oppressive regime, in turn, gave rise to the Sandinista movement, a left-wing revolutionary group that would play a pivotal role in Nicaragua's future. The Sandinista Revolution, which toppled the Somoza dictatorship in 1979, marked a turning point in Nicaragua's history. However, the new Sandinista government soon faced opposition from U.S.-backed Contra rebels, leading to a protracted civil war. This conflict was exacerbated by a U.S.-imposed trade embargo, which crippled Nicaragua's economy and intensified political tensions. The Iran-Contra scandal, which came to light in 1986, revealed the depths of U.S. involvement in the conflict. The scandal exposed a secret U.S. operation that sold arms to Iran to fund the Contras, bypassing congressional restrictions. This revelation had far-reaching geopolitical ramifications, damaging U.S. credibility, and further complicating Nicaragua's already tumultuous political landscape. Daniel Ortega, a key figure in the Sandinista revolution, first rose to prominence during this period of upheaval. As a leader of the Sandinista National Liberation Front, Ortega played a crucial role in overthrowing the Somoza dictatorship and became president in 1985. However, he was voted out of office in 1990, marking the end of the revolutionary period. Ortega's return to power in 2006 marked a new chapter in Nicaragua's political history. Initially, his government implemented popular social programs and maintained a relatively stable economy. However, signs of authoritarian tendencies began to emerge, with constitutional amendments allowing Ortega to run for re-election indefinitely. The simmering discontent with Ortega's increasingly authoritarian rule came to a head in April 2018. What began as protests against Social Security reforms quickly escalated into widespread demonstrations against the government. Hundreds of thousands of Nicaraguans took to the streets, demanding Ortega's resignation and a return to democratic governance. The government's response to these protests was severe and disproportionate. Security forces and pro-government paramilitary groups used lethal force against demonstrators. According to human rights organizations, over 300 people were killed, thousands were injured, and hundreds more were detained. In the wake of the 2018 protests, the Ortega government has taken increasingly drastic measures to consolidate power and suppress dissent. Opposition leaders have been arrested, independent media outlets have been shut down, and civil society organizations have been forced to close. The government has passed laws that criminalize political opposition and restrict freedom of expression. Human rights abuses have become widespread and systematic. Detainees have reported torture and ill treatment in custody. Extrajudicial killings have been documented. The international community has responded to the situation in Nicaragua with a series of sanctions and diplomatic measures. The United States passed the NICA Act in 2018, imposing sanctions on Nicaraguan officials involved in human rights abuses and corruption. The European Union and Canada have also imposed targeted sanctions. The United Nations has been vocal in its criticism of the Ortega government. The UN Human Rights Council has passed resolutions condemning the human rights violations in Nicaragua and has called for accountability. However, these international efforts have so far had limited impact on the ground. Despite international pressure, the Ortega government has continued to push through constitutional reforms that further entrench its power. Recent changes have expanded presidential powers, weakened checks and balances, and made it easier to strip opposition politicians of their immunity. These reforms have raised serious concerns about the future of democracy in Nicaragua. Nicaragua's journey from revolution to its current state of political crisis is a complex tale, a story of hope, struggle, and betrayal. As the nation stands at this critical juncture, the world watches, hoping for a peaceful resolution that respects the will and rights of the Nicaraguan people. GAP 3.0's comma title, A Message of Hope and Unity. As Nicaragua faces its own turbulent times, we are reminded of the universal struggles for freedom and justice that span across nations and generations. One such story is that of Ozzy, a member of the last great royal family of Iran. For 45 years, Ozzy has lived in America, tirelessly advocating for peace and unity through radio talk shows and thousands of messages. His mission to heal his two nations, urging governments to invest in food, not war. Ozzy's family history is deeply rooted in justice and leadership. They ruled their state with fairness, choosing not to seize the entire kingdom of Iran despite their power. However, the discovery of oil on their land led to their overthrow by England and its puppet king, Flavi. Ozzy's lineage traces back to the same region as the legendary Persian king, Cyrus the Great. From his father's side, Ozzy's family has a history of protecting Jews, dating back to the 1930s when Jews publicly praised Modares, a family ancestor. Iran, with its rich history spanning thousands of years, has contributed immensely to global civilization. From the Constitution of Europe and America to the halo on top of Jesus' head, many cultural and intellectual treasures originate from Persia. Cyrus the Great, 2,500 years ago, introduced the first human rights charter in history, liberating Jews from Babylon. The Jewish holy book even refers to Cyrus as a Messiah. Jews lived in Persia for 2,700 years, a testament to the nation's enduring legacy of tolerance. In the 1980s, Ozzy's life was shattered by the devastating 8-year war between Iran and Iraq, fueled by arms dealers from America, Israel, and some European nations. The conflict resulted in 1 million Iranian casualties and trillions in damages. Arms and information were sold to both sides, prolonging the war for profit. Despite losing everything, Ozzy's mother instilled in him a love for humanity. For 50 years in America, he has dedicated himself to bridging divides, urging Iranians to work alongside good Americans to heal both nations. His message is clear: be a part-time hero and strive for a world where everyone can live in peace. As we reflect on Ozzy's story, we are reminded that the fight for justice and peace is a shared human endeavor. Let us take inspiration from his journey and work towards a better world for all.